with all of your room definitions set up, the next step then would be to take a look at the miscellaneous definitions and look at what options are supported that you might want to change for your specific hotel or facility. So let's select miscellaneous definitions, and what you'll see is that there are several tabs with different options for different types of definitions. So we'll run through these very quickly. You have the option to specify whether the cash drawer will automatically open when a ticket or a room is cashed out. If that's set to yes, then the cash drawer will pop open. You have the option to specify whether or not the hotel cash drawer can be manually opened. You have the option to require a credit card in order to make a reservation. If you look at the hotel reservation screen, you'll see that there's a place where credit card information can be entered for the guest. You can make it a requirement to capture that information before the reservation is even saved. Or you can make it a requirement to capture that information before you allow the guest to check in. So maybe they can call in and make their reservation without giving you a credit card number, but you are going to require that credit card information before you allow them to check in. You can specify those options here. We also have fields that allow you to capture ID information, driver's license number or whatever other type of ID you want to capture, and we have the option of making that information required in order to check in a guest. And so again, that would affect the reservation screen, the reservation and check-in screen where you're checking guests in. The default room type displayed on reservation screen. If you have not currently selected a room and you hit the reservation button in the front desk screen, then it's going to bring up a listing of rooms that are available. Now, this is going to be the default room type that it has selected when you come into that screen. You'll be able to select any of your other room types, but this is the default value that's going to come in. We also allow you to specify a default country so that when you're entering addresses, you don't have to put that in every time. And then we have the default room rate type. When you defined the room types, you have the option to specify up to 7 different price rates, from the highest to the standard rack rate to the discount rates. This is the default pricing that's going to be used when you bring up that screen. And then next we have the option to specify which days of the week we're going to use to require the weekend pricing, that additional pricing option that you have in the room type definitions. So by default we set it up so that Friday and Saturday will be assigned weekend pricing. The next option here is receipt printing. These options are very basic. They simply allow you to specify which of your information, which of your address and contact information you want to print on the guest receipt, as well as additional lines of text if you want to put notes in or coupons in or a thank you for staying and check out our website or anything like that. You can enter the text into those fields and then mark them with a yes if they're fields that you'd like to print on the receipt. On the Printers tab, you have the option to assign a couple of printers. First of all, you have the option to assign a front desk receipt printer. This would be the typical 3-inch type of receipt paper that gets used to print some of the receipts. And then you also have the option to specify a report printer. Now, to specify those printers, you can simply select Load and then select from the list of printers that appear which printer is the appropriate one to use. Typically, you'll have a receipt printer driver as well as a report printer driver, and you can select the appropriate drivers there. We also have the option on several of the reports. You have the option to specify not just a date but also a time period to print that report for. This would represent the standard default set of time options that you're going to use. If you are a type of facility that typically wants to consider the workday from 4 a.m. to 4 a.m. instead of midnight to midnight, then you could put those values in here, and it would use those values in the appropriate places. Now, we also have an option to print more than one copy of the credit card slip when a credit card authorization slip is printed, and that would be specified with this value here. And then also the option to print when the employee clocks out, to have the option to have it print a slip for the employee showing their totals for the week. It'll display those on the screen, but you can also print those for the week. Now, you'll notice on these two options that we have the little yellow star here at the end, and this is to indicate that these are settings that are shared throughout the different software modules that we offer. So if you make a change to that, then that's going to affect those same functions in the restaurant software and in the Touch POS software as well as the hotel software. So it's important to recognize that sometimes the settings that you set here may have an impact on other areas of the software. On the Manager tab, you have some options that you can tweak for how the software is going to work in terms of security. You can disable the use of checks in the hotel cash out. If you choose not to take checks because that's a frequently fraudulent, they bounce and they have problems, then you can mark there that you don't want to accept checks. You also have the option to enable on-account sales. If you have customers or you want to allow people to place things on account and then receive a statement and you receive the payment later for corporate accounts or whatever, then you can enable the on-account hotel sales. If you don't enable that, then in order for the room to be checked out, the payment will have to have been applied already. The terminal employee timeout in seconds allows you to have the software automatically log out an employee from the front desk screen after a certain period of inactivity in seconds. Require manager OK for employee clock out is an option that allows you to specify that in order for your employees to clock out, you have to go in and enable them to do so in the software. Maybe that's pending a review of their responsibilities being completed or pending a review of their cash drawers being counted out or whatever you want it to be. But if you set that to yes, then you'll be required to authorize them to clock out before they can clock out. Now, as we saw in the employee definitions, there is an option for each employee that would override that. So if you have employees, if generally you want to review your employees before they're able to clock out, but you have specific employees that you want to just be able to clock out when they're finished or whenever they're ready to, then you can override that in the employee definition setting. The assigned terminal cash drawer number 01 through 20 allows you to have multiple terminals with cash drawers and then to count out those cash drawers at the end of the day. So as each transaction is closed, each monetary transaction is closed, the software logs the terminal ID of the current station so that at the end of the day you can count out and it knows how much money should be in each of the cash drawers that are on your network. Allow a credit card pre-authorization. There's an option in the reservation screen that allows you to pre-authorize a credit card to validate that a customer's card is good. Now the way that will work is it'll run a test transaction on that card to verify that the card can be charged. We have also the option to enable online bank credit card processing. We have a couple of different options for processing credit cards. Our recommendation is that you use our X-Charge integration with the hotel software. The next option that you have is to log employees in using either their employee numbers or their employee cards, the card swipe cards. If you're going to use cards, then you have to specify the appropriate value here. You can archive posting transactions. This affects the general ledger and is used to try to maintain the performance of the system, so you can have it archive detailed transactions off after a certain number of months. And you'd specify that number of months here, and you can also have the software archive your time clock records after a certain number of days so that the time clock doesn't get too huge. And you'll notice that these functions will affect all of the places in the software where we use those things, like the time clock or where we use the integrated credit card processing. Under the Passwords tab, we have a couple of functions that can be assigned to require a manager password in order to complete in the hotel software. The options are you can require a manager password to manually pop open the cash drawer, and you can also require a manager password to allow your employees to clock in more than some specified amount of time prior to the time that they're scheduled to start. And that's to prevent employees from clocking in early and trying to make extra money off of you. The final option that we have under the miscellaneous hotel definitions is the room taxes. Now we allow you to specify up to 3 different room taxes, and for each of those taxes you specify what the rate is that will be charged, as well as what the name of that tax is going to be. Now on the customer's folio report and in the internal reporting that the software does for your sales and for your income, it breaks out all of these taxes separately so that they'll see what each one of those taxes are, and then that allows you to be able to subdivide your taxes and know what you need to pay to which taxing entity after you've received those monies. So that's an overview of the miscellaneous hotel definitions, and there's a lot of things that you can use in there to sort of tweak the software to work better with the way that you want your hotel to function. Now let's take a look at working with your employee schedule. From the manager function, select schedule employees, and you'll see a list here of all of the available employees. I've only got one defined right now, with the daily schedule. Now with the daily schedule you can select which date you want to enter the schedule for, and then as you enter each day you can specify a start time and an end time, which would be times for a shift. So let's say that this person is going to work from 12 o'clock until 8 o'clock in the evening, which would be 20 o'clock because we use military time. So you'd simply add that to the schedule, and that's now a part of the schedule. From there you can save the schedule. You can print the schedule if you want, and you can load the schedule for multiple days. So if I go back now to this date, you'll see that it pulls in the employees that I've already scheduled for that date. And if I had more employees, you could see that I can schedule each employee for a different shift based on the times that I specify here. Whatever the information is here, when I select the Add button, it'll set up that employee to work that particular shift.